What's going on, guys? Hope you guys are doing well. So getting jacked isn't really as hard as you think. It's actually fairly simple. I know there's all this information online about how to get jacked, how to get in shape, how to get muscles, and I get it. It can get really overwhelming, but it's really not that hard, right? I would say it really comes down to just a couple things, right? Or one big thing. Um, and the biggest thing that's helped me stay in shape is just simply making it a lifestyle and having that identity shift to where you tell yourself that this is who I am now, right? You have to make it into a habit to go to the gym on a weekly basis. That's it. If you're able to do that, then everything else will start to follow. Everything else will kind of start to fall into place. You'll start to learn about different workouts. You'll start to learn about, your nutrition and, what works for you, what doesn't work for you. But you have to be willing to turn it into a habit, or because otherwise it's just not going to happen for you, right? It's hard to. You can read all the books that you want about lifting weights. You can watch all the YouTube videos, including this one. You can watch all the videos that you want about how to get in shape and how to get bigger arms and bigger legs and this and that. But unless you're actively going to the gym on a weekly basis, it's not going to happen. So the most important thing is to turn it into a lifestyle, right? And it doesn't have to be like this huge, like drastic thing where you go every single day or you go 5 or 6 times a week. Just going 3 days a week is enough. And just, the key is not to overcomplicate it, but consistency is the biggest thing. And I know you've probably heard it you hear it all the time, right? Stay consistent and you'll get there. But there's really just nothing else to it, right? It's just as simple as that. You have to be committed and you have to turn it into a lifestyle. It has to be like brushing your teeth when you wake up in the morning. And like I said, you don't have to go every single day. I only go 3 days a week, right? I used to go like 5 to 6 days a week. But right now I work, I'm still working full time. I work a physically demanding job and I'd rather just keep it to 3 days a week, sometimes 4 if I can. But that's all you really need. You can, if you're able to dedicate at least 3 days a week, right? 1 hour sessions, right? Because if you don't have at least 3 hours a week to dedicate to working out, then I don't know what to tell you. But that's all you really need, right? Just, 45 to an hour session workouts. And if you do that, I promise you, you're going to see results, right? If you do that for a long period of time. If you're in it to try and get results soon, in a couple weeks or whatever, in 2 months, then I don't think this is going to be the video for you. I'm talking about making this your lifestyle. Like, this is who you are, that you're a person who goes to the gym every week. And that's the fastest way, that's the best way you're going to see results over a long period of time. You just have to tell yourself that this is who you are. And it's really not that hard. A lot of people overcomplicate it and they overthink it, and I was like that at the beginning, right? Like, I would read all types of magazines and watch all type of YouTube videos and stuff, and you get into this like excitement phase, right? You start buying supplements, you start buying pre-workout and and protein powders, and you buy your weightlifting straps, and you have all this stuff before you even start going to the gym. And then you go for like a couple weeks, and then all of a sudden you just stop, right? For whatever reason, you stop. And it happens like that a lot, right? Like, you kind of just fall off. And, the most important thing, what people don't really mention, is like, you have to just make it into a habit. Because if you make it into a habit to go to the gym at least 3 days a week, then it doesn't matter how you feel, right? If you're tired, you're still going to go because it's just a part of your routine. you know, and that's what helps me to stay consistent. And I only, like I said, I only go 3 days a week. Now, the days of the week that I go kind of varies, right? Some days I might feel tired, so I'm like, okay, I do go when I'm tired, but if I feel like I'm like I need rest, sometimes I do listen to my body, as long as I get 3 days a week. You know, so for example, I'll go Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And but you know, if Monday comes around and if I feel really tired on Monday, or if I feel like my body just can't handle it, then I'll go Tuesday instead. You know what I mean? Like I'll kind of just, it kind of just varies, you know, a little bit, and I kind of switch up. And as long as I go 3 days a week, then that's my goal. Cardio, I try to do it every day. I try to do cardio every day. Some form of cardio, whether it's the jump rope or the treadmill. I have a treadmill at home that I ordered from Amazon, right? And that's another thing too. Like, you don't even need a home gym. You know, I live in an apartment and I have a treadmill that I can just easily set up right here in front of the TV and just like walk for like 10 to 15 minutes. Or I go outside and I walk. Or I use the jump rope, right? The jump rope is, and I always say this, and I've said it in my other videos, like that's like my ultimate weapon. The jump rope is just an incredible type of workout. Good, high intensity cardio workout. Keeps you in shape, keeps you burning off calories, and it's just incredible, right? So I do that. But just keep it simple, right? It's really not that hard. Like, I can't say it enough. And you know, don't just try to go based off of your feelings, right? Because you're gonna feel tired some days, or you're just not gonna want to go. And you know, it could be because you're not seeing results fast enough that you're kind of just like, you're not motivated. But you know, you might be expecting results too soon, or maybe, you know, it could be that you're doing something wrong in the gym. But if you stay consistent and you learn from trial and error, and you be intentional about your workouts too, because you don't want to just go to the gym and then just like keep doing the wrong things, right? Obviously you want to get better each time that you go, but I guess like I'm more speaking to the people that are thinking about going to the gym. You know, you're not going to get everything down on day one or week one or even year one, right? It takes time to learn certain things and for things to click. And there's so many variables that go with getting in shape, right? You have job, you have responsibilities, you have kids, maybe you don't. You know, maybe you have a certain type of budget where you can only afford certain, you know, certain supplements, or maybe, you know, a certain amount of groceries. Because the cost of groceries right now are, you know, it's pretty expensive. So it's kind of hard to like consume all these calories, and, you know, you have to keep buying food and stuff. I get that, but like if you're just starting out, just start off with the basics, you know? And I always say, eat clean, lift weights, do cardio, and stay consistent. You'll be all right. You know, you're going to learn things as you go, right? But it doesn't, like I said earlier, it doesn't matter how much you read or how many YouTube videos you watch and how many magazines you read or whatever. If you don't build the habit of going in the first place, then none of that matters. You have to learn how to build a consistency first. And then once you can prove to yourself that you're consistent, that you're going on a consistent basis, then everything else will start to fall into place, as long as you're intentional about it. But it's really not that hard to get jacked. Like, you can get in decent shape if you just stay committed. That's all you got to do. It's just stay with it on a consistent basis. And there's not much else to that. You know, I've been going to the gym for a long time. And, you know, I've had my phases where I was like on and off, but when I finally committed, when I finally just said, all right, I'm going to at the very least, go 3 days a week. And I stuck with that. then I started seeing results. And that's what I'm trying to tell you, right? Maybe you'll figure out your own kind of variation or your own way. But I'm just telling you, what worked for me. And that's it. That's all you got to do is get yourself a gym membership somewhere. It can be Planet Fitness. It can be wherever, right? And just start lifting weights. Start lifting. Start changing your eating habits, because that is important too. Try to cut out a lot of processed foods and sugar and, certain things that are bad. And do cardio, because cardio is important. Not a lot of people like to do cardio because they want to stay big and they want to be buff, and people are afraid to lose their gains. But cardio is really important. All right, it's important for your heart health, and it helps you stay lean, right? Like I like to have like a little bit of lean bulk. So that's why I do a lot of cardio. But you just got to stay consistent, right? And like I said, everything else will start to come into place. So you'll start to get better at your bench. You start to get better at your squat and your shoulder presses, and because I think a lot of what people like to do at the beginning is, well, first of all, a lot of people get scared, right? They have that fear of judgment, and they go to the gym and they're like, man, I don't know what I'm doing, right? There's all these people in here that are, they've been going to the gym for a long time. They're veterans. They know what they're doing, and I'm afraid that people are going to look at me and make fun of me, and you have that fear of judgment at the beginning, which is totally normal. It's totally normal, but you got to get over that, right? Like for the most part, I mean, unless you're doing something wild at the gym, most people don't care, right? People, especially people that have been there for a long time, like myself, like we don't care if there's a newbie at the gym working out, right? If anything, like if I see someone that's a newbie at the gym, if I can offer help, I'll help. But for the most part, like we're just there to do our workout and leave, and we all have to start somewhere, right? Like I remember when I started going to the gym and I was afraid of being judged, and I was kind of looking around and wondering like if I was doing a workout right. And the good thing is that you can kind of have like a little bit of a plan before you go into the gym. So if you're not sure how to do something, just go on Google and look it up, how to do a proper bench, or bench press, or how to do a proper shoulder press or squat. And you just practice that, right? And don't start with a lot of weight. You can start with body weight and then just start to gradually add some weight as you get better, because you have to have good form, right? You got to be form focused before you start adding a lot of weight, because otherwise then you're just going to be wasting your time. But again, those are things that you learn as you continue to go on a consistent basis. You're going to develop those skill sets, right, of proper form and proper gym etiquette too. You don't want to go in there and hold machine hostages, right? There's people that do that. They leave their stuff on one machine and then they walk across, the other side of the gym and leave their water bottle on that one, and they're just hogging up two machines, and you'll start to learn all that. But yeah, it's really not that hard, guys. Like it's not that hard to get in shape, and you just have to stay consistent. And you're not going to see results overnight, obviously, but when you do, right, because you will see results if you're willing to stick with it. And when you start to see the results, then that's when it really gets more addicting. That's when you're like, oh wow, like, and a lot of times people notice it before you notice it yourself, right? Because you see yourself every day, and but when someone else sees you, especially if it's someone that hasn't seen you in a long time, they're going to look at you and they're going to be like something looks different about you. Like you've been working out, because I used to get that a lot, right? I was thin. I was like really skinny. And I started going to the gym, and then, I stayed consistent with it. And next thing you know, people started noticing, and that's kind of how it goes. But But when you start to get those results, then that's when it really becomes addicting. And that's what's going to push you to keep going, even on the days when you feel tired, even on the days when you're not motivated. And it's not about motivation anyway. I mean, motivation is just a feeling. It's going to come and go. You know, you ought to go even when you don't want to, unless you feel like your body's telling you, like, dude, I can't go. Then obviously you want to rest, because rest is just as important. But if you stay consistent, you're going to see results. And when you start to see the results, then it's going to be even easier to go. And then you're going to start falling in love with it. Then you're going to start learning more about it and trying to get better at it. And you're going to, you're going to kind of like gamify it more. And, everything just becomes different, right? And that discipline of going to the gym, it starts to bleed into other areas of your life. Then your mindset changes, and if you're a person that likes to go out and party, you're not going to want to really go out and party anymore. And you're going to prioritize rest, and you're going to prioritize the things that you consume and put in your body, and it's just a great feeling, right? And it's not that hard, guys or ladies, right? Ladies and gentlemen, it's not that hard. You just have to stick with it. At the beginning, it's going to feel awkward. It might feel like it might feel hard at the beginning because you haven't built the habit yet, but you just have to stick with it. And I promise you, if you stay consistent, if you just keep going and don't think about it, don't overthink it, just go. Even if you're in there for half an hour, your first session, your first month, if you're in there doing just half an hour sessions, just start small and then gradually build over time. And I promise you, you're going to see results. All right, I thought I'd just hop on here and say that. I know it's been a while since I made a video, but it's really not that hard. 3 days a week, and then you can start to, take it up a notch. You go 4 days, and then 5, and then 6, right? But that comes later, right? Don't start doing that right away, because then you're just going to burn yourself out. You can go and do a push-pull legs split, on a weekly basis, and just with that, you'll be good. And do some cardio. For the love of all things, don't forget cardio, right? That's important. And eat clean. And that's it. And you'll get it. All right. So don't let another year pass by where you're just thinking about it. And, you have that, some of you might have a gym membership that you're paying for and you're not even going, right? You're just wasting your money. Or, you don't even have to go to the gym, honestly. You can still get in good shape without going to the gym. I mean, you can buy some like home workout stuff. Like I said, I have an apartment, I have a treadmill. I do push-ups. I had a pull-up bar for the door. I got to get a new one, but you can buy stuff like that. You can buy resistant bands. There's tons of stuff online on Amazon. You can buy, just because you don't have a basement doesn't mean that you can't have like a home gym, right? You can buy certain equipment for working out in your apartment. So anyway, I hope this helped. I hope this kind of gives you a little bit of motivation, a little bit of push, and some perspective. A lot of this I speak from my own experience, and it's a journey, right? We're all on our own journey right now, and but it doesn't mean that we have to be alone, right? We can, if you can join a community or get to know some people that are in the gym, and if you're able to have some people to kind of help you keep accountable, then that's great. You can follow my channel if you want to. I mean, I got to do a little bit of a better job to be consistent on here, but if you're able to just surround yourself with the right people, and even if you don't have any friends, even if most of the people around you, they don't go to the gym, that doesn't mean that you can't still go, right? I go by myself. I don't have a lot of friends, right? I know some people, I've met some people at the gym, some wonderful people and everything, but by default, like I didn't have a lot of gym friends, right? I made the decision, my own personal decision, to just start going to the gym myself and start working out and not waiting on anyone, not depending on no one. And sometimes you got to do that, right? Like, just because you don't have a training partner, or you don't know what you're doing, or you don't have any friends that work out, doesn't mean that you can't go and work out. Like, I've been doing this, going to the gym by myself for years. You don't have to wait on anyone to start going to the gym. We live in the most permissionless time right now that we've ever lived in. You know, you don't have to wait for anybody's permission to go to the gym and to get in shape. So anyway, I hope this helps, and let me know if you have any questions. All right, thank you. Take care.